Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk about some of the best forgotten maps in Call of Duty history. These are maps that were released anywhere from 8 years ago to 13 years ago, and way back when they were beloved by the player base, but for some reason, they never again saw the light of day within the Call of Duty franchise. We of course have great maps out there like CTown, Firing Range, and Summit, which have been featured in one way or another in 4 different Call of Duty titles, but then you have maps like the ones in this video which are amazing in their own right, but for some reason they were only featured once and then were basically forgotten by the developers. Over the years, remakes and remasters have been a staple feature in the Call of Duty franchise, but with hundreds and hundreds of maps to choose from over the past decade, I feel like the various Call of Duty teams have forgotten about some of the best individual maps in the franchise, and that's what I want the focus of today's video to be. Now, while I will be counting these maps down from number 10 to number 1, just remember that I'm not really putting them in any particular order because I feel like all of these maps are incredible in their own right, and I would love to see them return in future Call of Duty titles. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into the video with the number 10 map. Grid from the original Black Ops. Now, I think it's easy to understand why Grid may have been lost to time. It's an amazing map in its own right. It was released as a launch day map for the original Black Ops, but that game didn't exactly have a shortage of amazing maps to play on. You have super popular maps like Nuketown, Firing Range, and Summit, and on top of that, you have some smaller fan favorites like WMD, Havana, and Launch. All of those maps have been remade in one way or another, but in my personal opinion, Grid was a top 5 map back in the original Black Ops. It played incredibly well for respawn game modes as well as search and destroy, and the theme so perfectly captured that Black Ops Cold War vibe that they were going for, so I have hope that with Call of Duty 2020, which is apparently going to be Black Ops Cold War, I have hope that Grid will finally return, but I'm not holding my breath because it's been nearly a decade since we saw this map in the Call of Duty franchise. District from Call of Duty 4. So this one is on the list, but it sort of feels like cheating since it was technically brought back with Modern Warfare Remastered, but I don't feel as though that should count because that was a remaster of the entire game's multiplayer rather than individual pieces of it. District was a launch day map for Call of Duty 4 back in 2007, and it was widely regarded as one of the best maps in that game by the player base. District was actually one of the most competitive maps that was used for game battles way back in the day for both search and destroy as well as in respawn modes, and even here in 2020, it's still a popular map within the Call of Duty 4 pro mod scene. District is one of the best balanced maps in the series in my opinion, but for some reason, it never saw the light of day again in 13 years since it was originally released. That's a real shame because it's one of the best maps and one of the most popular games in the franchise, and if maps like Courtyard from World at War and Stadium from the original Black Ops can get remastered, despite not really being all that popular to begin with, then I feel so District should at some point get some serious love from the developers in an upcoming Call of Duty title. This is a great map, they should definitely bring it back sometime. Plaza from Black Ops 2. So I feel as though Plaza suffers from the same problems that Grid did with the original Black Ops. In Black Ops 2, Plaza was an absolutely incredible map, but it was overshadowed by a few more popular maps like Raid, Standoff, and Hijacked. Those maps basically sucked all of the air out of the room, and other maps like Plaza sort of flew under the radar. It's been 8 years since Black Ops 2 was released, and we all know that Treyarch loves to bring back old maps into their newer games, but I feel as though they have pressure to bring back the really popular maps like Nuketown, Standoff, Hijacked, and Raid like I mentioned earlier. The other Black Ops 2 maps sort of just get left behind every single time Treyarch releases a new game, and that's a real shame because I loved playing on Plaza back in the day, and I think there's a lot they could do with this map should they reimagine it to fit the theme of a new Call of Duty title, though unfortunately I'm not sure we're ever going to see this map again in the Call of Duty franchise. Arkadin from Modern Warfare 3. Alright, I'm just gonna come out and say it with this one. How in the world has Arkadin never been remade or reimagined in the Call of Duty franchise? Because in my own personal opinion, Arkadin was the best multiplayer map in Modern Warfare 3, which is one of the most popular games in the Call of Duty franchise, yet for some reason, Arkadin has never made a return. Maybe I'm blinded by rose-tinted glasses here, but in my memory, everybody always voted for Arkadin back in the day. I always had fun on this map, I dropped countless Moabs on it. It was just an insanely fun time every single time Arkadin showed up in the map rotation. It didn't matter what mode we were playing, I always had fun with this map and everybody else seemed to enjoy it as well, yet for some reason it hasn't seen the light of day in 9 years, despite 3 different Infinity Ward games coming out during that time and 1 Sledgehammer game coming out, which was remastering old maps from the Infinity Ward titles. Despite all that, we have never seen Arkadin again ever since Modern Warfare 3, and that's really disappointing to me. Now, rumor has it that in 2021, Infinity Ward will be releasing a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019, so perhaps in that game, Arkadin could be featured. But still, again, it just blows my mind that in 9 years, this map, which was so popular in one of the most popular Call of Duty titles, has never been remade or re-released for a newer Call of Duty game. It really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Dome from World at War. So it's no secret that Call of Duty fans love small maps, right? Typically the smallest map in the game is one of, if not the most popular map within a given Call of Duty title. You have maps like Shipment from Call of Duty 4, Rust from Modern Warfare 2, Dome from Modern Warfare 3, Nuketown from the original Black Ops, and even Hijacked from Black Ops 2. These are all relatively small maps, they're all loved by fans, and they have all been remastered to death, with the exception of maybe Dome from Modern Warfare 3, which was only remade one time ever. You then look at the original Dome, the Dome that we saw back in World at War, and it's never been remade for any reason whatsoever. It has such an iconic location, right? It's on top of the Reichstag, and I wonder if maybe that's why they decided to never bring it back. Maybe they wanted to preserve that iconic setting rather than reusing the layout, but I feel as though in the 12 years since this map was created, they could have somehow incorporated the location of Dome, or maybe even the layout, into one of the 4 different Black Ops games that have released in that time. Dome was incredibly popular back in World at War. No one ever voted to skip it, and it was always a ton of fun to play on, and I really hope that this map, or at the very least its layout, return for a future Call of Duty title. It's possible that it may return in Call of Duty 2020, since it's essentially going to be a reboot of the Black Ops series, and it's going to be set across multiple different time periods, but I suppose we're going to have to wait and see how things play out. But yeah, I would really like to see Dome return, because as you guys can see from this super old gameplay, it was a lot of fun to play way back in the day, and I would definitely like to see it return. Subbass from Modern Warfare 2. So I feel as though Subbass is one of the best forgotten maps in Call of Duty history for a number of reasons. Gameplay-wise, it was incredible. I never had a bad time playing on this map, and even though this is very subjective, I loved the snowy theme that Subbass had. If you think about it, snowy maps are typically very hit or miss in the Call of Duty franchise. They're either very good, like Subbass and Summit, or they're very bad, like, for example, looking back at Derail from Modern Warfare 2. I feel like the reason why Subbass has been sitting on the Call of Duty shelf for these past 10 years is because Modern Warfare 2 itself was too popular for its own good. If you think about it, almost all the maps from the base game of Modern Warfare 2 have been remade or reimagined in one way or another. You have maps like High Rise, Afghan, Terminal, Favela, Rust, and Scrapyard making various appearances across many different Call of Duty titles over the years, and then you even have Wasteland, which was incredible. In fact, I would have put it on this list, but Wasteland wouldn't really fit considering it was technically a reimagined version of an old Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 2 map, but still, a lot of the maps from Modern Warfare 2 have been either remade or reimagined over the years, and Subbass has kind of been forgotten. I feel as though it has the same problem with it that Grid and Plaza have. There are just so many great maps that were released with Modern Warfare 2 that when they go back to pick these maps from these older games, they kind of fall back on the super popular ones every single time. And then once a map, it's kind of a vicious cycle, once a map is featured in 2 or 3 different games and people like it in those 2 or 3 3 different games, then I feel as though the developers feel pressure to add that same map to a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th game. It's a really vicious cycle that causes incredible maps like Subbass to basically get left behind. Maybe one day this frozen map will see a return to the Call of Duty franchise, though honestly I'm not really holding my breath because Modern Warfare 2 had so many great maps, and I have a feeling Infinity Ward is content to just keep remaking the same ones over and over and over. Hanoi from the original Black Ops. Now this selection here may just be personal preference, but I absolutely loved Hanoi back in Black Ops 1, and I would love to see it return in a future Call of Duty title. In a game like Black Ops 1, which was known for maps like Firing Range and Nuketown and Summit, it's understandable why Hanoi flew under the radar, but in my opinion, this map was amazing, and it really fit the theme of the Black Ops universe. There's a lot of real-life history surrounding this location, which is why I feel as though it could work in a future Black Ops title, and I have my fingers crossed that Hanoi will make a return with Call of Duty 2020. The nighttime theme, along with the prison itself, made for an incredibly unique and somewhat creepy atmosphere, and again, even though this may not have been an absolute fan favorite back in the day, it was certainly one of my personal favorites, which is why I decided to add it to this video. And Treyarch, if you're listening, maybe with Call of Duty 2020, maybe just skip bringing back slums for the 3rd or 4th time and instead give Hanoi a chance, because this map was incredible back in the original Black Ops. Ambush from Call of Duty 4. Yet another super underrated map in my own personal opinion. Ambush was one of the best playing multiplayer maps in Call of Duty 4, yet for some reason it never appeared again in the 13 years since it was initially released. Now if you're talking about a map that played well for team deathmatch, domination, and search and destroy, look no further than Ambush, and what's also interesting about this map is the giant road that sort of divides the map in two would make this map work really well for game modes that weren't even available back in Call of Duty 4, such as Demolition, Capture the Flag, and even Hardpoint, because of course the precursor to Hardpoint was the game mode Headquarters, and Headquarters was a lot of fun on Ambush back in the day. I also feel as though this map benefited from old school map design, where there were lots of very unique locations you could get to, and lots of very interesting lines of sight that you could use in different game modes, and I feel like bringing back this kind of design would be great for the Call of Duty franchise. Now if the developers themselves are too scared to think outside the box when it comes to line of sights and what buildings should be accessible versus inaccessible, if they're too worried about going back to that old school design, they should at the very least bring back a couple of older maps that were designed like Ambush, because in my opinion it's a great way to play the game, and I would love to see this map return in any future Infinity Ward or even Modern Warfare themed games. CTown from Modern Warfare 3. Now if you want to talk about amazing maps that have been forgotten to Call of Duty history, look no further than CTown. Fans absolutely loved this map back in the day. It was right up there with Dome and Arkadin as some of the most popular maps in Modern Warfare 3, but just like with Arkadin, CTown has been sitting on the Call of Duty shelf for nearly a decade now. I have no idea why this map was never reimagined. It's not like other maps in this list where there were too many maps from the game that it was released in to possibly be remade. There were lots of really good Modern Warfare 3 maps, but for some reason, barely any of them have been touched. I mean, Dome's been reimagined, a couple of other maps have been reimagined, but aside from that, they leave a lot of these really good Modern Warfare 3 maps on the shelf, and none are better than maps like Arkadin and CTown. I have a lot of great memories on this map personally. I got my first Moab here, and some old school fans of the channel may remember the old Moab Monday introduction, which featured CTown. I love this map, and in general, I felt like this was one of the best maps ever released, though apparently the developers over at Infinity Ward don't feel the same, because again, it's been nearly a decade, and they haven't remade it or even reimagined it. I mean, who knows? With the success of Modern Warfare 2019, I imagine we're going to see a lot more Modern Warfare themed games in the future, so it's definitely possible for CTown to return, but like I mentioned, in the 9 years since this map's inception, it has yet to be seen again in any Call of Duty title. Castle from World at War. So for a lot of you newer Call of Duty fans, it may seem a bit weird to have a World at War map at the very end of this video, but as any old school Call of Duty fan will tell you, Castle was absolutely amazing. In my own personal opinion, every map in this video should be remade in one way or another, but it blows my mind that to this day, of all the maps that have been selected to be remade in the Call of Duty franchise, not one time did Treyarch ever decide to release a remake of Castle. Now what blows my mind even more is they were actually going to reimagine Castle for the original Black Ops, but they decided to scrap it for one reason or another. In this footage, which was shown at an event a long time ago, Treyarch revealed that back in the original Black Ops, they planned to reimagine World at War's Castle into a war museum that sort of shows off the various bits of important history within the Black Ops universe. This sounds like such an amazing idea, but they decided to scrap the map from Black Ops 1, and they never really gave us a good reason as to why they did that. They basically just said, yeah, we start up a bunch of maps and not a lot of them actually make it into the game, and apparently War Museum was one of those maps. In my own personal opinion, Castle was incredible, and I feel like it could transcend World at War and fit well into virtually every Call of Duty title. The layout lends itself to all sorts of different game modes, including ones that weren't even around back in 2008, and I would absolutely love to see that War Museum idea be added into Call of Duty 2020. The next Treyarch game will essentially be the 6th game in the Black Ops universe, because keep in mind, the events of World at War played a role in Black Ops 1 and all the other Black Ops games, right? So it would be awesome to have a War Museum that showcases 12 years worth of Black Ops history on one of the best map layouts that Treyarch ever created. So here's the hoping that in the next Call of Duty title, we see the return of Castle in one way or another. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Those are the 10 best forgotten maps in Call of Duty history, at least according to me. Now, obviously, this is something that's very subjective, so no doubt a bunch of you guys have some favorite maps that I did not include in this video, so be sure to let me know what maps you think those are down in the comment section below. I love seeing what other people think about the various Call of Duty titles and what they think about the various Call of Duty maps that have been released over the years, so be sure to leave your thoughts and feedback down below. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.